Friday morning. Let's go, baby. TDR Trade to Black podcast. I'm your host, sdales. Good to have you here on a Friday morning. Going to dive into it into the wire. A lot of late breaking news. Obviously, last night's big announcement with Pam Bondi being appointed Attorney General. What does this mean for the cannabis space? We get Anthony Varrell's take on whether or not this is good for cannabis. A lot of other things, too, that we'll focus on. Most importantly, the Alj hearing that's coming up, an motion that was set by two different companies. And we're going to find out what this latest means for Sam and a cannabis and psychedelic researcher who was hoping to delay this hearing. But sounds like it's not going to, which is a good thing. So let's welcome in AV here on a Friday morning. 11:01. We're on time. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. It's been a tumultuous couple of days since
how do you put into words as to what goes on in Washington? Like it's just
because I think the cannabis industry's problem right now is we're kind of just hyper focused on things we can't control, and those things that we are hyper focused on are ever changing and they're not concrete right now. So, and we also have an inherent recency bias that we really do want all of these people that are champions and or amenable to cannabis reform in these positions. So kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit. Matt Gaetz was a really good pick if you wanted progress for the cannabis industry from an AG standpoint. If you really kind of do a postmortem and look around, his odds of being confirmed as the AG, despite looking at Trump's notion to force him through the Vacancy Act of 1998, no pun intended, but it could have been a pipe dream.
Yeah,
thinking that was going to be realistic. I was hoping that he was going to get confirmed, as he was a friend of the industry. He was favorable on cannabis in his rhetoric. But now we got Pam Bondi. So let's see what happens.
Well, I want to maybe before we get into that, look, we did a live stream the night that Amendment 3 did not pass, and it was our job, our duty is to prepare people, whether it was good or bad news, what's next? How do we prepare for this? So based off of this news, I think we need to take a step back because, like you said, with all these appointments, we've just been so fixated on this, becoming more and more increasingly interested. People have optimism that's going on. Something like this happens. But regardless of whether it's Pam Bondi, Matt Gaetz, all this stuff that's been going on for the last couple of days, taking a step back, looking at big picture of this industry, how are you approaching it?
I'm waiting. Cannabis is a show me story. I'm waiting until something happens. Clears that.
And for those that are already in, let's say, and they're so fixated on this isn't investment advice, but on how the industry changes and matures, I think the first thing we need to focus on is obviously in less than 2 weeks, which is the Alj hearing, what that basically entails, this motion on November 25th. That's probably the first priority that we should be looking at in this space. Incremental steps, right?
Yeah, it's first shoe to drop. I know 12-2 obviously isn't going to actually be the hearing. So we're not going to see any testimony from any of the parties. I think it's been there's a continuance just for some time in January or February. But yeah, getting that started, getting that kicked off, and starting to move the gears is really all that matters.
Yeah. And here come the controversy already. Josh Harris, I didn't want to talk about how the Republicans are destroying our cannabis reform. Yeah, wouldn't buy into that whatsoever.
That's completely false.
Completely false. TDR, Trade to Black podcast. Let's jump in and into the wire. We haven't done one of these in probably about a week and a half, but we'll begin with obviously the news with Pam Bondi being appointed as Attorney General. So as one door closes, another one opens. Matt Gaetz announced yesterday that he's withdrawing his name as Attorney General, citing that he described as the quote unquote distraction his nominations has caused amid a swirl of allegations. So based off of that, moving forward, action plan for the Trump administration, where they announced last night that a former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi was appointed Attorney General of the United States. So I would say the feedback so far has been relatively positive. Her resume looks pretty impressive. She was an Attorney General of a big state. So I guess when you heard this news, give us your take and your perspective on what you thought of this announcement.
My knee-jerk reaction was that she was against smokable flower coming online in the state of Florida in 2016. And that was based on a quick Google search. Once her name came to the top, I thought that it was going to be, let's say, Mike Lee or a Ken Paxton. Realistically, I didn't think it was going to be somebody else coming from Florida that wasn't, let's say, on the betting markets. Her track record on cannabis, if we're being completely real, is not the best. She has done the bidding of her superiors, being the governor of Florida, with some potential negative things that she's done towards the industry, but she's also elicited the reasoning to be malleable. She's done the bidding of her superiors and the people that have put her in those places. I'm not co-signing for her or saying that she's going to be a positive for the industry, but I am saying that if history repeats itself, she does do what's in the best interest of the people that put her in those positions. Kim Rivers came out and said that she was a positive.
That was telling.
It goes. Brady Cobb came out and said that she was a positive as far as the pick goes. Let's also keep in mind that Pam Bondi was at Ballard Partners, which is a very sophisticated lobbying firm in Florida and DC that work with a lot of the larger cannabis companies. Susie Wiles, connected to Mercury, public relations firm that does a lot of lobbying and a lot of public relations strategy for cannabis businesses. RFK, he said that he wants to legalize cannabis. That man potentially is going to be in charge of the HHS. I'm not saying things are going to happen. I'm simply telling you these are the pieces on the board.
That's telling.
There is a good chance that something could happen. Could something not happen? Absolutely. That easily could be reality. I'm not trying to be a cheerleader. I'm simply saying the facts. And all of the people that are in the positions right now that would move the cannabis industry forward are in those positions.
What's the message if you're an executive of a major MSO? What type of conversations would you be having with her, and how would you approach her on this? Because, you know, if she, like you said, has a background in it, she's probably up to speed. So clearly you're going to have the executive of the MSOs speaking to her, keeping her up to date. They're already well versed, but the key obviously is the conversations that she then, Bondi and Susie Wiles, chief of staff, is having with Donald Trump pertaining to this, correct or no?
So as far as my knowledge goes of the way the intricacies work of Washington, I'm not sure getting an audience with an attorney general is as easy as getting an audience with a legislator. I don't think that the cannabis CEOs are going to have some sort of forum with the attorney general based on cannabis policy. I could be wrong there. Like I said, it goes beyond my knowledge base on how Washington actually works, but I highly doubt she is as accessible as lawmakers as they are truly public servants.
Okay. So the best is describe what kind of working relationship she'll have with President Trump. You would say that she's going to be, in your opinion, a team player is what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's simply my opinion. I mean, it looks like she does the bidding of her superiors. Granted, like we keep saying, cannabis is not a high priority item. Donald Trump is not going to get into office and be like, all right, my 100-day agenda, cannabis is on the top third of the list. It's not there. That being said, the attorney general with a memo can fundamentally alter the trajectory of this industry very quickly.
Yeah.
Could that happen? Yes. Is it going to happen? I've got no idea. You've got no idea. And none of the CEOs, for the most part, have any idea of what could potentially happen. But the pieces are on the board.
How long was she Florida Attorney General?
I think she was Florida Attorney General for 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty impressive resume. Prosecutor for 20 years. And as I said, Florida's first female Attorney General. Also important to know that she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdoses as per a social post put out by President-elect Donald Trump. So that's encouraging, I think.
Yeah, she's very pro getting rid of opioids and getting rid of fentanyl and things like that. And if you want to talk about allocation of resources in the United States, we should be allocating all of our resources that are, let's say, to cannabis enforcement to opiate enforcement, which is the opposite of what Governor DeSantis did fighting Amendment 3.
Yeah. Gretchen, thanks for the heads up. Trump is only picking team players for his cabinet. I guess further thickens the plot about, the GOP party and where it sits right now, because you're having this, I think the mainstream media is definitely going in right now where there's conflict amongst that party, where you have the Trump loyalists and as well the old establishment in play. But, I referenced that because I don't know if you saw this, but Matt Gaetz is going to outline who's going to release all the names of all the senators, Republican senators, who prevented him from becoming AG. So it looks like Washington's about to get a lot more spicier based off of that. But I don't know what to put into the words when it comes to that. But that's, Great opportunity for him, but these allegations just, took over, did they not?
Yeah, they absolutely did.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up that topic for now. Let's now move into, as you like to call it, Chuck is back. As we switch to the current administration and current Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And we talk about safe banking. I hate talking about this topic, but it's got to get brought up. Explain more here on these rumors of safe banking passing during lame duck, and really, in all seriousness, the chances of it actually happening. Like, what are you hearing and seeing?
Same old song and dance. Chuck is trying to bring safe to the surface. I'm hearing that Republicans could potentially be against it, not wanting to give him the win. I'm also hearing from a lot of the groups that we talk to that are in Washington that safe is in play. I mean, they're positive. I'm not getting positive whatsoever. I'm not dangling that carrot, and I'm not buying into that notion that safe is feasible in lame duck. If safe happens in lame duck, amazing. We finally got it done. I'm not acting on it. I'm not investing via it, and I'm not giving it any brevity, if I'm being completely honest.
So
if I had to guess how this plays out, Chuck's going to continue to talk about it for the next couple of days to weeks. Mike Johnson's going to come on the 11th hour and say, hey, we want a clean bill. We don't want safe attached to it. It goes through, it dies, and then we're here again talking about it in 2025.
Okay, so some of the conversations that you're having, you are seeing more and more momentum about this, or at least
you had people from the liaison group and the National Cannabis Roundtable yesterday on Twitter saying that they conducted 30 meaningful meetings with House members. That's great. That's progress. Educate investors. But is that going to translate into getting safe done, which I have no faith in right now due to past instances.
Yeah, we've been there before.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. But yeah, I think there's a lot more important initiatives going on right now. I think where were some of the things I had outlined before? But yeah, on paper, you said there's things on Congress's plate right now that doesn't involve cannabis, such as budgets. What was some of the other things that I think we were outlining as well? Yeah, even Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, saying, an advocate of federal cannabis, is saying that, outright, that banking is really not a priority right now, which totally makes sense considering what they have to obviously.
It's not a priority it's not a priority to him, maybe, but he better think fast, and it's a priority to people that are in his constituency. I mean, safe banking helps the small guy in the cannabis industry. Safe banking helps the social equity applicants that aren't able to get banks. The MSOs and the large companies are using banks.
Yeah.
Safe banking is for the protection of the employees in the cannabis industry, for the small operators, and for the mom and pops. So, I mean, Booker needs to realize what the implications of what he's saying when he's speaking, because it should have been a priority. He said it was a priority far long ago. It should still be a priority today. And it really, truly is a priority for those that matter.
Yeah. MSO Mondays with Dan. We'll get back to you on that. But yeah, we're just conflict of they had meetings actually, and we're going to be extremely busy next week as well with US Thanksgiving. And then the following week, we got to head to Vegas for MJ Biz. So we'll keep you posted on scheduling, Sonic, with regards to that. But scheduling is going to get a little wonky here in the next couple of weeks, just because there's a few big conferences, and obviously the shortened week next week with the overall Thanksgiving in the U.S. Gretchen writes, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's in play. They're looking for a vehicle to attach it to. And later JT writes, I've got a Jeep Wrangler. They can use my vehicle if they'd like. So
yeah, I was reading that they want to attach it to the CR, which Mike Johnson is, like I said, the 11th hour will come in and be like, we need a clean bill going through, and or Chuck tries to get fancy and attach some social equity language to it, and then it's a non-starter.
Yeah. It's 11:15 here on a Friday morning. I'm your host, Shad Dales, with Anthony Varrell here on a Friday TDR Trade to Black podcast. I'm going to get into it, but what are we looking at right now in real time? Price of Bitcoin just keeps going up, baby.
It is 98.3.
And how about a big round of applause for those shareholders that bought Agrify under $4? It's nice. What's that trading at? Is that you under 4?
48. No, I bought it at 436 and I sold it at 540 the same day. And then I traded it a couple of other times, but I bought it again yesterday at 28.50, which it's now up $20 a share since I bought it.
ZTKRC. Thank you, my friend. That is very generous of you. $50.
I want to give everybody some context, though, that Agrify is taking the elevator up, and it can easily take the elevator down just as quick.
Yeah.
It's a very not thinly traded, low float NASDAQ stock.
Yeah.
All it takes is a couple people selling, and people are buying it right now on pure speculation. Sure, Ben is best in breed in the cannabis industry. They have a hemp beverage in there. They just raised money. They have the GTI converts. There's a lot to like, but there's not really a core business in there right now. And right now it's trading at a $75 million market cap.
What's the share float in that company? Do you know?
I have to do the math. It was very, very small, in the single digit millions. And then with the converts and the current capital raise, which I don't think was that dilutive, I think it was only about 1 million shares. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
Wow. $75 million market cap for a business that really is obviously on speculation and the association with GTI. Again, before we get into that, I wanted to mention again, ZTKRC. Thank you for the $50 donation. Appreciate it. Very much. I very much appreciate that. It's awesome.
Could have bought a subscription to the Green Market Report with their new paywall.
Won't get into that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. All right, next up, let's turn our attention now. Probably the most important matters to set off the top, the industry that needs to focus on, and that's the ALJ hearing, or I don't know if the proper term is ALJ hearing, but some of the stuff that will be outlined. That's less than 2 weeks on December 2nd. It involves Sam, who will need to respond by November 25th to a motion that was put forward by Hemp for Victory and Village Farms, who alleges that there was improper communication between Sam and officials from the DEA. This grabbed our attention this week a lot. So what can we expect next? They've got to respond by November 25th. Sam does, correct?
Yeah, they have to respond. The judge is awaiting response. Kevin Sabet might have incriminated himself via Twitter in this, with him bragging that he knew in advance that Ann Milgram didn't sign the actual the final ruling paperwork for Schedule 3. For the rescheduling initiative. And then there was another tweet out there that he basically put his foot in his mouth. It's comedy, to be completely honest. The lawsuit borderline, or the motion is to eject the DEA from the ALJ. If they were working in concert with Sam and there's back channeling going on, I mean, that's kind of just very, very nefarious behavior. It wouldn't really surprise me, as we're kind of looking at them more so as like the deep state enforcement agency moving forward. And they have been working against us this entire process. The HHS has been the most favorable and friendly party in this. The DEA has not been, for reasons unknown to us. But this is going to be something that develops, and it's going to be funny to see. I mean, if Sam did shoot themselves in the foot because Kevin Sabet spouted off on Twitter, and now he's not going to be able to be speaking at the ALJ hearing, I'll laugh my ass off. That's the best thing that could have happened.
So
also,
is this in reference to a May 6th tweet? It writes, "Big, I can now say with full confidence that the administrator of DEA, Ann Milgram, did not sign the rescheduling order, breaking with 5 decades of precedent and established law and regulations. Brackets, 2 confidential sources inside DEA and other outside DEA with intimate knowledge tell me." This is back on May 6th at 2:44 p.m. Got 72,500 views.
From my understanding, that was material non-public information when he posted that tweet. I think Shane and Village Farms got him dead to rights.
There was also a cannabis and psychedelic researcher that was hoping to get this delayed. Do you get the impression that some of these people, and I guess this is all part of a comment period leading up to an ALJ hearing, but do you get the impression that a lot of these people may think they're a little more serious than really what they are?
Yes. Granted, and I'm probably going to get shit for this, Sam should be at that ALJ hearing.
Okay.
Sam represent the prohibitionist arm of what we're doing. Sam also do lobby and speak to the terms of harm reduction, which they do have some good points on, but Sam should be allowed to have their say as it pertains to the matter. Do they have standing? I think Kevin Sabet's standing was that he's not going to be able to fundraise if cannabis is rescheduling, that doesn't really pass muster as far as I'm concerned. And it was amazing to see the Panacea Plant Sciences guy get his injunction thrown out. He was very cocky on Twitter. He was very condescending to a lot of the people from the cannabis industry that were taking part of the conversation. And he literally was like, I'm going to stop the process, dead to rights. I'm successful in this. Sucks to suck, buddy. I'm happy to see him get thrown out of court.
I was going to ask you who that was, but obviously you just outlined it. But
Panacea Plant Sciences, everybody that's watching, that was on Twitter. That was he made it very well known who he was.
Every dog has its day, right? Every dog has its day. But yeah, it's a thing. But I guess it goes back to what we're saying off the top. Whenever something positive happens in this space, we lean too far, one way too far, too much. And then obviously when something bad happens, we're doing the complete opposite. If you can somehow incorporate some gray into your vocabulary versus looking at everything so black and white, might be helpful. But it's what else we got here as far as
Kenny Paxton. We dodged the bullet with him, and he's in the headlines as of yesterday.
Yeah. Only if they actually state actual facts and not their fabricated BS narrative. Sam. Thank you, Jungle Java, and well said. I like what Guap had to write before in all capital letters. These are not serious people. Yes. Emilio, time to remove it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 and let the industry skyrocket. Love your positive optimism every single day, my friend. Always love hearing from you. And the AL judge at least seems honest, unlike DEA, writes JT. Well, we can only hope. But as Eric Berlin has said, we're about to enter into a court of law room. And that is where I think is a big difference between what you're commenting on in the Twitterverse versus actually being in a room conducting your information in front of a judge.
Yeah.
All right. Let's switch now to headline number 4. And I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, was not named Attorney General, and he's making more news. He's outlined in his stance against cannabis in the past that we're very well familiar with. And yesterday, as I said, the Texas Attorney General, he filed a lawsuit to overturn Dallas's newly approved marijuana decriminalization ordinance, despite 67% voter support. Why is he doing this?
Because he's Ken Paxton. He hates marijuana. He's a prohibitionist. He's generationally just not there. Guy's got morals that are concrete.
Yeah.
To a degree, you want to respect someone that really is ingrained in their beliefs and doesn't waver. But he's on the wrong side of history. I don't know how fundamentally you can be the Attorney General of Texas with a 67% vote. 67% of the people in that 67% of the people in that jurisdiction voted to decriminalize cannabis, and he's now trying to overturn it. That is a gross majority of the people. What he's doing is just slapping the voting process in the face. That is one of the institutions of this country. I'm glad we dodged a bullet with him. I really thought that there was a decent chance he could wind up as Attorney General, especially with Matt Gaetz withdrawing, and then Whitaker got appointed. Mike Lee was waiting in the wings, and Ken Paxton was one of those other people as well. This is just a joke. He's literally litigating against the will of his own people.
Do you know if other Texas cities like Austin have responded to similar lawsuits challenging, I guess, their local decriminalization policies? Do you know?
I don't think he's gotten that far yet.
No. Okay. ZTKRC writes in 2020, Paxton also against democracy generally. He sued Houston and blocked them from sending mail-in ballots to people's homes in 2020. He stopped almost 3 million ballots from being mailed out. Yeah,
if I'm speaking frankly, he's a real piece of shit. Not even taking into consideration his cannabis stance. I mean, he just works against the will of the people, and he's got some baggage as well.
Can you tell us how you really feel about him?
Yeah.
All right. We're moving along here. We're going to make this nice, short, and tight this week, and not flood you with too much information. But I think that pretty much wraps up into the wire. Anything else that you wanted to touch on that you think is important? Any takeaways from?
Yeah, I think just reinforcing the notion that, I mean, we're not cheerleaders. We're also not fortune tellers. We don't have a crystal ball. And I mean, it's a function of being able to relay the messaging and information that's in front of us without really trying to get too speculative or predictory with what's going to happen. And I think that a lot of people need to really start looking at the businesses, the cannabis businesses, get back to fundamentals. Granted, they don't trade on those, but if you're allocating capital or making decisions based on what businesses can survive if nothing happens, and then what businesses will be absolute winners if we do get reform, you'll stay saner than judging, than basically making every decision you make on a headline coming out of Washington that can be good one day and bad the next.
Yeah, well
it's just
said.
really no way to operate.
Steve Bassel writes, any rumors of potential new DEA head names? Yeah, we've been trying to find that out. I don't know who the names are, but hopefully, obviously, these DEA aims, the short list that are there, are all in line with Trump and obviously in line with RFK, which I would assume that was the case.
I'll talk about that when there's more clarity.
I know you are. Let's not spread too much right now, but we're working on things. You know what, people? We're going to jump into mic drops of Goop in just a moment, but if you get a chance, just leave some comments below. There's any frustrations, questions, anything you guys want to talk to us about right now, feel free. And we'll make this kind of an open forum here this afternoon, just because we want to get some of these things out. And I know there's a lot of people that just want to talk and vent at times, kind of like what we used to do in old traditional radio. We'll take your call. We'll take your calls. Be the 9th caller for your chance to win a beautiful TDR hoodie. But yes, just let us know if you got anything on your mind. Leave some comments below. We'll bring it up and we'll address it right now. But in the meantime, segue in to a very exciting time of the week. It's Fridays. Mic drop with our friend Goop. What's going on?
Hey guys, greetings.
You shaved yesterday and your beard grew back that much in 24 hours?
I definitely did not shave. I may have trimmed a little here and there, but no.
I've been working on my beard for about 6 months now. Is it getting there?
It's coming in nicely.
Look at you guys, man. You guys are the grizzly men.
Yeah, we're beastly.
Jungle Java needs a TDR hoodie. Jungle Java, you going to MJ Biz? Let me know if you are.
Yeah,
Fire.
so greetings.
Hold on. What are we talking about today? I'm talking to you, Goop. What are we talking about today?
I think we're talking about why I'm bullish.
Oh,
personally.
Okay.
Yes. I know we all protect ourselves, and I talked a lot about it last week about putting on your green glasses and taking off your red and blue ones and starting to look at things objectively, but not getting too excited, between cautiously and nauseously optimistic. I thought I was even keeled until I met Anthony. The guy keeps it very, he keeps an objective view on everything. And so I'm trying every week not to get too excited about this space, but I am going to share a little bit why. Yes, let it all play out. It's a show me story, end of the year, tax loss harvesting, yada, 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 yada. But if I'm on the sidelines and big money, I am kind of loving how this is playing out, to be perfectly honest. If you can see past sort of like the Trump, if you can wipe away the whole like Trump lies and Trump never does anything he says or whatever, that sort of perspective, if we can just set that aside and we just look at the people he's appointing. Yes, to Gretchen's point, you need votes in the Senate. This is not a done deal. We need people educating lawmakers at the DC level to make sure some of these common sense things and reforms happen.
Yeah.
And I definitely understand because I am one, a cannabis investor would be protecting themselves from more disappointment. The sort of fox trying to get the grapes tail. You're protecting yourself because you feel like you've seen it before. We were given so many promises. There were so many catalysts that were supposed to happen and they didn't happen. And so now they're never going to happen. right? And I get where you're coming from on that for sure. But at the same time, it sure feels like the Democrats are handing the GOP this issue on a silver platter to me. And
I
this
think
is
so.
coming from I'm not a registered Democrat. I'm not a registered Republican. I voted for Romney. I voted for Obama. I couldn't bring myself to vote for Trump, if I'm being totally honest. But in terms of what it does for the cannabis space, you have to look at some of these catalysts that could happen and realize that, man, are the Republicans sort of set up to take this win, and they really, really could. What the big difference for me is, and again, I wasn't maybe as plugged in 2020 with, I wasn't on TDR. I didn't talk to many people in the cannabis industry. I was just posting on Twitter. But what I'm seeing now, which makes me more bullish than maybe I was then, where it was more hype and hope, is we have people in the industry who are talking directly to the Trump transition team.
Yeah.
And they're being very open about that. And they're telling us what they're hearing and what they're talking about. And I know I shouldn't take what politicians say at face value, right? Ever.
You know what, though? I'm going to read something to you that we got.
There's something cooking here.
Remember Rick Wiley that was on a couple of weeks ago?
Yes.
This is great what he said. The Republican Party isn't the Republican Party of 2004. It's much, much different. Using the new GOP voters to lean on their senators and candidates for U.S. Senate to bring them to our side is the fight. And that is so bang on.
Yeah, it's true.
Bang on.
Yeah, if you can, you just got to set aside your partisan hat glasses, realize who's in power, figure out the messaging that works to target them. If it's access to the capital markets for U.S. companies, like Charlie said, that's un-American. That the fact that these U.S. companies, if it's jobs numbers, if it's tax revenue, if it's public safety, whatever it is, I really am getting the sense that is starting to resonate within the Trump transition team. Now, how does that translate to which bills get put to the floor, who gets appointed, what passes and when? That's the part where we can all speculate and guess, and we should all really, another point I really want to make here, I know I'm ranting here, but is everyone needs to take a deep breath. I think the Trump election has everyone's cortisol levels, no matter who you voted for, spiked really high. We're all buzzing. We're all hour to hour, minute to minute again. And as Anthony said, even keeled Anthony, as I'm calling him today, this is not going to be the first priority. So while I think everything's lining up, and if I'm an institution on the sidelines, I'm sort of looking at things and realizing there's a lot of very sort of beat down investors in the space. That's a great setup, to be honest. And so, I think everyone needs to take a pause. I know I've said it before, and take a deep breath and realize we got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But
so let's look at this. Nelson Bell. There's a Wall Street article today. Marijuana industry could stay in limbo under Trump. Did you guys get a chance?
It was written by a consumer packaged goods author that lives in Europe. If you're going to talk about the Republican Party, the Donald Trump administration, and the cannabis industry, you better be from the States, and you better be talking about from a first person perspective, so you have actual knowledge on the cannabis space.
Yeah.
Not saying she's wrong, because she very well could be right.
Well, later, Rick actually wrote us saying, view the incoming administration as a fresh start. The sky really isn't falling. Dems haven't been able to do anything with this issue, so why keep holding out hope that they are the hope, which is actually right. There's a chart, I guess, in this article that lays out how much COH that these companies have and how much is owed to the tax man. That economic message coming from small business owners is golden. There is a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
So hope that clears up some of the air.
We just posted a chart on the TDR account about cash on hand versus 280 taxes owed. I mean, there's lots of different ways to look at the space.
Yeah.
There's no one valuation metric to rule them all. But I agree with Anthony's sort of take on, sort of hope for the best, but invest like the worst case scenario is going to happen, and then be pleasantly surprised. Not
Lance
financial.
Finlayson writes, short answer, Agrify now has around 3 million shares, but the dilution was with institutions. They aren't day trading like retail OTC traders. The tradable float is still only around 600K. Good to know.
Yeah,
hence
so
the reason
nothing.
why this thing's
You
moving
blow
so
on
much.
You could blow on it and it'll go up, but
Yeah,
you can sell a little bit and it'll go down. Like I said, that stock is going to be elevator up, elevator down.
Does that remind you of Tilray?
Yeah,
big time. Changes in the Farm Bill. We didn't really touch on that at all this week, but Boris kept saying to us, sorry?
Because they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead. But, to Boris's point, what did he say? Was it May, June next year? Like, it's dead for now, but we shall see how things starts to change and manifest. Especially, once we get into 2025. But for now, they're dead. But I think what Rick just said, stop leading on hope with the current administration, because if they would have done something, they would have done it already.
Yeah.
Gents, I think that wraps up here on a Friday. We're on the 40-minute mark. Enjoy your weekend. We got a short week next week. We'll do a live stream Monday and Wednesday. We're going to be off next Friday. So we'll get some pre-records as well. Make sure to check out that video I posted yesterday too with the interview that I had with 3 executives from 3 cannabis companies from Canada that shed some light. There's some interesting stuff going on in Canada right now that I don't think you should sleep on. And we're also working on doing another panel event for this with David Klein, Michael DeJulio, and Bina Goldenberg that's going to take place next month, which is going to be a great one because those are probably the 3 biggest names in Canada right now. But I was happy to see a lot of collaboration going on amongst Canadian companies, which obviously wasn't the case in the early days when you factor in the Terry Booths, Bruce Linton, and Vic Neufelds. That was competition at its finest. But anyway, check that out and make sure to scan that QR code. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our Baked In newsletter as we keep you up to date and give you our take on what some of these appointments mean, and most importantly, just the overall big picture heading into December and how you should be preparing yourself. We outline that in our Baked In newsletter and keep you up to date. Leave some comments, and if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe. Gents, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here Monday at 4.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
No one knows what's going to happen.
Thanks, everybody, for watching our latest Trade to Black podcast. Listen, the U.S. election is now over. We're now in some uncharted territories and what to expect next, knowing the Trump administration will kick in next year. So what is next for the cannabis industry? This is why we need to stay connected. Ask any questions. We love your feedback. And always, as usual, if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks again, everybody, for watching.